Super quick video today. I think this is going to be an extremely important, helpful tip though, especially when you start working with a production music library. I just had a Sync Edge recommendation video that I put out for all the members. And as I was going through some of the reference tracks in those videos, I show you guys which tracks I feel are a great example to follow or illustrative of what kinds of music I think would be really relevant for the TV and film clients of that particular library. But one of the tracks I clicked play on, the tags, the actual metadata associated said bright, optimistic, upbeat, playful, and fun. And I clicked play on it, and it was a dark, tense, kind of anxiety driving sort of a cue. So there was a mismatch right there that I could see on this library's catalog classification system. Now, what sucks about that is, well, twofold. The library is not in this one particular case. Hopefully it doesn't happen more than just one or a couple of times. Of course, there are human beings involved, so mistakes happen. But the problem with that is that if a client were to come into this library catalog's website and try to find bright, optimistic, fun, energetic music, they type in those tags and they see this track pop up, they click play on it, they'll say, that's not even close to what I wanted, and they'll just keep going. So this poor, unfortunate composer is probably not going to get any placements for that one particular unfortunate mistagging of their track. The cue was great, extremely licensable, and it was perfect for maybe like a tension scene in a reality show or an elimination scene. But the way that it was categorized in the catalog will prevent it from showing up in relevant searches. So this is a little PSA for all of you guys. Once you get accepted into a library, a lot of times a library will handle metadata for you and classification of your tracks in their catalog. A lot of times it's their source audio online catalog. Sometimes they'll ask you to do it, and if they do, you might think, oh, that's extra work for me, but you should be thanking them because you get to have a little bit more control and oversight over how things get classified, okay? And it's important that you don't try to make your track relevant to everybody all the time, everywhere, okay? That's a temptation that a lot of producers have. They want their track to be showing up in as many search results as possible because they think that'll increase their chances of getting placements. Wrong. Then what will help you get more placements is if you're actually really pinpointed and focused on a particular emotion, style, genre, scene that you think your track would actually be relevant for. If it actually is nailing what the meta tags and the metadata is hinting that it's going to be nailing, that's when you're actually going to get those placements. So if you do work at the library and they handle this for you, they put the tags on your music, they handle the metadata, not only should you be going in and double checking on your registrations with your PRO, we've talked about that as well, probably on a monthly basis or at least as often as you're submitting new music to them, make sure your tracks are showing up under your name, under your PRO, and there aren't any sort of unknown names, popping up into your writer share or replacing you as the writer. That is a red flag, or that's definitely a huge error made by somebody that you need to make sure that you catch. But also double check how your tracks show up in their source audio catalog or in their catalog. You should be able to get access to that. If they don't want you to have access to that, potential red flag as well. I think every library doesn't mind you going and looking how your tracks are being represented and sort of categorized on their website. And on a monthly basis, you should also be going in there and looking at what tags and categories and genres they're putting on your music. And if they're not getting it right, like if you actually put together a bright, optimistic track and they didn't categorize it properly, you feel like they kind of missed the sort of mark of the emotional cue, that's worth an email. That's worth a phone call. That's worth you saying, hey, I noticed that, with these 3 tracks, you said that they were bright, optimistic, but as I compose them and what I hear, they really don't feel like they would match those tags. Can we have a conversation about that? A library that, again, is worth sticking around will be happy to have that conversation with you, at least take a listen. They might disagree, but they'll at least try to hear you out in terms of maybe you've got a better idea on where this track would be relevant for some of their TV and film clients. So this is on you, though, because a lot of times these libraries will just literally hand this off to employees, sometimes even interns, unfortunately. Sometimes it is the CEO doing a lot of this himself, but a lot of times it's not. It's outsourced to somebody else because this is kind of the boring, not so glamorous part of our world. And most of the time they get it right, but you don't want to be one of those composers where they get it wrong and they get it wrong consistently enough that you're literally losing out on placements. And that's the difference this stuff can make between you starting to see a lot of growth with your career and really not. It's just a miscategorization, a mistagging of your music. Somebody just sort of grouping your tracks into a bunch of others thinking, well, these are all kind of the same. We're going to give the same tags to all of them. that might not actually be really helpful for you and your placement. So you definitely need to advocate for yourself. You need to kind of speak up when things are wrong. This is one of the mistakes I made early in my career, where some of the tracks that I had sent into a library got mixed by them, and a lot of the instruments got off the grid and they were sounding weird. And I didn't speak up because I felt like, well, I don't want to be kind of annoying to them. I don't want to be nagging. I don't want to kind of tell them how to do their job. So I'll just sort of say, thank you for taking my tracks, and I'll just keep going and forget about it. But now that I have obviously some experience, you should start to build a little bit more confidence in yourself, that you could say, no, this was the music that I wanted to submit. This is how I categorized it, or this is what I thought would be relevant for sync licensing. It doesn't mean you're right. There can be times where you disagree and the library actually knows better. So have some humility, take it with a grain of salt, this kind of stuff. But you should be advocating for yourself on these really important issues, because trust me, nobody else is going to. I'm not going to. Your library CEO might not be aware that there's a mismatch going on in their catalog, okay? They have so many limited hours in the day. They have so much music, and they have to keep an eye on the clients as well. But you definitely do care about your placements. You care about your music. You care how it's categorized. You care how it's represented to the TV and film clients of your catalog. So just a little PSA. Hopefully you guys find that helpful. Do take this stuff seriously. It really is make or break kind of stuff.